Howdy everyone, and welcome back to more for the 2023 Imperium Cup for Dune Imperium, the Rise of X and Immortality expansions. And we're hosting commentator the BlackShadow, and we are going to be kicking off the second round of knockouts for the tournament. We've completed the group stages and just finished up with the first round. Brings us to the final round before we get to the quarterfinals in the new year. Round of the format here, this group will be featuring the various players that finished third and fourth in their groups over the course of the early part of the competition, as well as the 14 qualifiers in the previous knockout round, with spots for the quarterfinals up for grabs. All match winners from the 13 games here will get through, as well as the 5 best scoring second places before we get to the real nitty-gritty of the quarterfinals. We've only got one game played, Match B, which I was not able to cover due to the time that it was being played. So instead, we're going to be focusing on Match I today, featuring Webben, Mark T, JammmyET, and Valen, though I think it's actually Valen. It's also happened to be just saying at this point who was the qualifier from the first knockout round. We'll start off looking at the players with Webben, who finished third in Group M, and is probably going into this game as the favourite for this match here. Perhaps a little bit unlucky to have not even made it directly into the quarterfinals, only losing out on the second place by points tiebreak to the Avenger. So a little bit disappointing there, but Webben ultimately had a pretty good competition. 2 victories in the back half of the competition, with Count Ilban and Baron Harkonnen setting the stage, but unfortunately their first game finishing 4th place as Princess Yuna left them with just a little bit too much work to do, after also a 3rd place finish as Lazy Kaz in the first week. So Webben did well, I think, to come back and get his way through to qualification with back-to-back victories, but just left himself a little bit too much work to do, unfortunately. So he's going to have to go through the additional round here. Maybe feels he probably should have been directly into the quarterfinals, and perhaps he should have done. But he's here now and he's going to have to fight in it's going to be a pretty challenging game, I suspect. Mark T came through in 4th place in Group J, as one should know, because it's the same group that I was playing in. Mark did find a match win in the back end of the competition with Princess Yuna. This was a Week 6 game, which I covered earlier. That was my self-review game, or one of the ones that I did. He was the one who spun the row. As it turns out, lotterying both in the shadows is a pretty effective game strategy. But other than that, though, I think Mark played sort of fine enough in the games that I saw. Did start off kind of poorly, though, finishing a 4th place of Count Ilban in a pretty close game, it should be noted, but managing to dig himself out with the win with Yuna, just about getting his way through directly here by a 3-way points tie-off with 10. But I do worry for Mark a little bit here. I think this is going to be a really, really tough game for him. There's a lot of good players around. I do worry that if the start gets off to kind of a poor start here, that he's not going to be able to catch up, and I think it's very important for him to find a really strong start, get ahead early, try and hold on to that lead absolutely desperately, because it's going to be very difficult to claw back against the quality of opposition that he's going to be facing here. JammmyET finished 4th in Group L, which was largely dominated by Bafco and Shady Slayer, and it was a really uneven competition for Jammy. 2 victories playing as Count Ilban and Hundro, but also 2 4th places, again with Count Ilban as well as Archduke Armand, although scoring at least 9 points in all of those matches, which means they had a pretty solid average points rating, which helped shore up his 4th place finish. It's a little bit hard to know whether this feast or famine sort of style of result is going to be beneficial or not in the knockouts, but it does strike me that Jammy can be maybe a bit of a swingy player, which is something I can appreciate. That can be the case for myself at sometimes. You have games which are absolutely fantastic and you fly through, and other ones where you just can't quite seem to get going. So it's just see how Jammy approaches this one. There's some very, very consistent opposition that he's going to be facing here. If he can get off to a high roll, then maybe he'll be able to take advantage of that, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how he plays this, see if he can find an opening or two and look to just absolutely exploit it. So I think it'll be a good watch here. Jammy, maybe want to upset the results here. And last up, we have Valen, who came through with 5th place in Group P. That's a bit of a disappointing group stage for their standards. I did have them pegged as a dark horse to go a huge distance back in the Golden Path Internationals, though wasn't able to fully find their way through to the finals, which was a little bit unfortunate, but still had a decent run, I think, overall. But it wasn't an easy group stage, all things being honest. Victory of Princess Dune, a pretty convincing one in week 5. But other than that, just not able to force many decisive results. A couple of second and third places dotted about there, meaning they had to settle with going through the additional qualifying round, which they managed to come through a very difficult-looking match F here with a lot of good opposition against them. Very, very strong win with Duke Leader, meaning that they've got a shot here in the second round. But again, this is going to be a difficult game, I suspect. Interesting to see how it goes. I guess Valen is, perhaps slightly a sentimental favourite on my part, just because I thought they'd go the way in the Golden Path Internationals, and maybe part of me slightly hoping they go through here as well. Interesting to see how this is going to play. I think it's going to be a very, very tricky little game for everyone involved. I do think Webben probably comes into this as the favourite, but I don't think that's going to necessarily mean a whole lot in this one. Should be a good watch. So it's time to get ourselves ready for the match here. We got Mark in the red seat, Jammy to pick first here, and this is where I unfortunately have to let you know that this is not my first covering of this game. Very unfortunately, and it was, I want to put it down to technical mishap. This one is purely on me. My coverage of the actual game was completely lost. This was my mistake. But I don't want to deprive you of the match here, so it's about a week later. I don't really remember much of what happened in the match here, but I am going to recover this game for you guys. So, yeah, sorry about that. It is what it is. What can I do? It does give me the opportunity, I guess, to pause occasionally if I want to. I'm going to refrain from that where possible, however. So we're just going to roll through here. So let's look at the opening row and text. Does mean that I obviously have no control over the mouse because BlackShadow did all this. So opening row on the Talaxu here. We've got a decent, half-decent cast. Just a Mentat, Unnatural Reflexes is pretty desirable. Just Mentat is a bit tricky sometimes to get a lot of value from unless you've got some card draw to back it up. Can still be pretty strong. Unnatural Reflexes, people do like that though. Great Spiceless Flow by, great enabler of reveal effects, that sort of thing. Then we get down to the Imperium row. You can see Piter de Vries is overlooking here. Very, very strong card. A couple of decent other stuff as well. Sardaukar Legion can be pretty fun. Can be good use for the faction access. Imperial Bashar can be cool for like really heavy artillery decks. And that can actually pair artillery and get some crazy value. But other than that, kind of not too much going on. You could definitely see worlds where maybe someone gets to like 5 and just scraps the row, or 4 even gambles. And as for our techs here, disposal facility is not bad, but I think has not been too popular in this competition. Shuttle fleet, very, very strong tech here. Highly desirable. People like the money, the faction access, though it is pricey. And then you got the wind traps as well, which can be really good, again, for snowballing into combat stuff. As for our leaders, a couple of notable ones already. Ilban and Beast expect to get picked pretty early. Then you get to a couple of tricky choices here. Helena might be of some interesting use of like Piter de Vries. A Lasery Kaz could pair very nicely with Unnatural Reflexes as well. So I'd expect to see those 4 chosen, which I'm going to have to remember because, again, I don't quite remember what happened in this match. So it was Jammy to pick first, and does go for Beast, which is a little interesting. You generally see Ilban get picked a lot in the 4th spot. You got to know that Ilban's be coming on your right side, but obviously fancied trying to put a lot of pressure into the combat to maybe get some wind trap stuff going, kind of snowballing. Hardy Warriors absolutely jam that. Could definitely see that going a lot of the time. On to Mark here, who I believe went for Helena in this, and I don't hate that at all. Piter de Vries is a very strong card. Helena, though, has proven to not be a particularly great pick in first. It's been a difficult position. Helena is just not as strong as she used to be for a variety of reasons. But it's a little bit tricky otherwise. Prince Rombor in first position feels really difficult here to make good use out of. Although that Wind Traps tech looks pretty decent, however. And then you've got also stuff as well. A Lasery Kaz, again, pairing with Unnatural Reflexes could be pretty good. And that was kind of what I think I wanted to see Green do here, as Red does go for Helena Riches. It's tricky, though, because like, Ariana can have some interesting pairing with Wind Traps, but it's only really good if you've got a massive outlet for all that water you're going to be generating, so maybe it's not too necessary. Rombor in second position. I've seen Valen take Rombor before, but again, if there is a big combat person also on the board, like, the Beast, that's pretty bad for both parties involved. So I do think, like, a lot of the time time, you probably just got to go over Lasery Kaz, although I don't hate taking Romba here, specifically because of Wind Trap. So it kind of depends how you see it. There's a couple other cards as well. Maybe sometimes you go Imperial Bashar and you set that up as a card for one step ahead so that you can get hold of some spice as well. But after plenty of ooming and ahhing, Valen does go for Romba Vernius. Much to my slight surprise, I think, at the time, expecting a lot of carnage between them and Blue, who's going to be dominating a lot of the fighting. So we'll get ourselves underway here. Opening draws look pretty decent for most players. Ilban doesn't draw too great, however. And Helena draws a little bit tricky as well, so not too much faction access out there, all things being noted here. Opening conflict is the mixed smuggling skirmish. All positions are fine here. Nothing too crazy insane, but when people see that money in the opening skirmish, people tend to go rather heavy for it. Helena probably forced to go smuggling first up here and ring away. It was interesting to see what she would consider ringing, because her persuasion's a little bit tricky. She's only got 3 persuasion in hand, so she could put Bashar away. It depends, basically, if you want to go Arrakis or not, or maybe even go for Paita and just go immediate tech negotiation. But it doesn't feel too great to do so when your other recons in your hand. How are you going to deploy in round 2? So, also you've got both daggers. You cannot make some use of that here as well. Maybe go heavy in the combat, try and win it, cash out the smuggling early, threatening wealth to try and pick up Swordmaster. But again, you've got all your counter access in hand. Goes to Pirate of Rees ultimately, which makes you think that a lot of the time you're probably going to see a punt to Arrakeen and hope to somehow find and D5 themselves their convincing argument. But it's going to be difficult for that. Roma just fold spaces, I did expect. Ilban has to just live with picking up some loose spice here. Maybe occasionally he goes early wind traps, but it's hard to see him doing that a lot of the time. Maybe it's a way to get in front of Great Flat. Maybe like a Great Flat Conspire play is an option next round. You could go Ring and then Diplo, except that Beast insta goes wind traps. Doesn't even hang around. Again, worried about the fact that Romba Vernius might well go to like Haga Basin and using that to pick up the water here. So just cuts it off immediately, not even allowing Romba the chance to pick it up with the Signet Ring, which was, you know, not a bad move. Also a little fortunate as well because they're the only person with faction access, so they are eyeing up already a potential just absolute punt at Hardy Warriors and just to start putting the pressure on early here. So it was a good solid move there, but definitely helps out the fact the way the table looks. So back to Helena. A couple of choices. Restricted Ordnance turns up as the next tech here. So you can either just go Karthak and put them all in, but if you ever want to get hold of Paita, you have to go Arrakeen and hope to D5 it for your convincing argument, which they go for. And they miss, because of course they miss. They find Seek Allies, pretty much the worst card they could have drawn. So a little bit unfortunate for Helena there. Not what you want to be seeing, that Seek Allies coming up on the Arrakeen redraw. That is always a sad sight. So Rommel was definitely eyeing up again. Haga Basin, take wind traps and try and work things out from there. Kind of stay water neutral, but we're now being put into an early tricky position here. Could still go Karthak sometimes. You don't have to go mining with the Signet Ring, but obviously it's nice to get hold of that spice and then try and use it to get hold of a tech code. But now, unless you're going to go for... Well, you can't even go disposal facility. You just can't afford it. So just goes Karthak, ultimately. Just going to start parking up some negotiators for some future tech buys, which can't be a bad move. Finds the Emperor, but huge early intrigue. Very, very strong. How many troops do you put in here, though, is very tricky. You've got no daggers. You could put in one and just hope that somehow Beast doesn't get involved and somehow he doesn't have faction access. It's possible he doesn't when he goes for the immediate dagger there. Sometimes he's just left with his Signet Ring and experimentation and stuff, but it's not that common. Ilban just uses his second experimentation, just grabs all the spice in the world. Don't hate it. Can't be a bad move, considering putting in his third troop here, but it feels kind of bad. Because you feel like you're not really in control. If Beast wants to beat you, a lot of the time he can just beat you if he goes Hardy Warriors. Though, if he does, is debatable. Personally, I don't hate putting in the third troop just to guarantee you're going to get at least some cash. Although now you don't have enough spice to consider going Conspiring next round. So it's a little bit tricky here. So it leaves the opts to just stay out here. which means that Beast, with the only other faction access here, is free to just Hardy Warriors and just barrel away here. And this is what you should do. If you're the Beast, if you've got Wind Traps, you've got Hardy Warriors access, and you can pretty much guarantee you're going to win the combat, you hit this every single time. Just for pure denial of resources to your opposition. There's no reason not to do this, basically. You're getting your water back. It's such a strong tactic. And for Beast as well, you don't have to worry about the fact that obviously using a ton of troops here because of the fact that, you know, you've got a lot of... You have your ring to supplant this later on. You can go heavy on the Fremen Alliance, and then it just rinse and repeat. JammmyET does consider trying to save a troop here, but very difficult when you don't have any daggers. You kind of have to put them both in here, which was the right choice, as Helena's sitting there with a couple of daggers, just in case he tried to cheap it on the combat a little bit. 2 Persuasion just settles with the Water Peddler, which I don't hate here. Potential chance to get the Great Flat early. Maybe they go Conspiring here as well. Conspiring for setting up Swordmaster, definitely a potential option here. And one that you should look to consider doing next round. Great Flat, Conspire, round 3 Swordmaster. It can't be blocked. Seems fairly good, although you are relying on Beast not going Great Flat ahead of you, which you might do sometimes, so it's a little bit tricky here. Valen reveals for 4. Negotiate Withdrawal turns up in the row, which is typically the pick you'd expect to see. Imperial Bashar can be a cool card. I think it's better if you're going to use it for the trashing. Although its reveals obviously is pretty decent, but there's not really any other swords out there. Nor is there artillery to supplant either. So Negotiate is probably just the better card here. Getting the extra troop in garrison round 1 is pretty nice. Also, the opportunity to just like kind of feint and decoy some troops later on to pick up some influence bumps can't be bad. Ilban reveals for 3. Goes for Space Travel, which I like. I like Space Travel as a card for Ilban. Being able to go hitting that faction space, the card draw is pretty good. It's not a bad reveal either for 2 Persuasion. And it's potential Highlander access later on. And then Jammy reveals for 4 here. Plus the tech negotiation for 5, and Satellite Band comes up here, which I really like this card as Beast. I think it's a great Beast card. Just for, again, that water and spice, you just continue to hit the Fremen there, and Beast is looking to have a lot of water in this game, looking very, very strong here. Combat resolves as you see it. No intrigues to be played here. Beast takes the win. 3 coins for red, a couple of coins for yellow, and we move on to the second round, which is Trade Monopoly. So more carnage, more shipping to be fought for here. And now this is where it gets... This is the first real big decision point of the game here, is what does Romba Vernius do? He has a problem here, and that Romba could just go fold space shipping. And Romba could definitely look to go ahead and do that. But... given that its Trade Monopoly is the fight, is it better off, considering that Beast is clearly arming up and is preparing for a very heavy Hardy Warrior strategy, do you, as Romba Vernius, go Hardy Warriors yourself? Beast has a look at Beast's deck to see what he's got. He's got the 1 dagger. Romba's got both his daggers as well. Do you, as Romba Vernius, just go Hardy Warriors yourself and take in your shipping in via some combat? It's a tough spot. I think both options are fairly reasonable here. I think the double daggers, and also with what Beast is threatening to do already pretty early, it's kind of scary. You've got to think a lot of the time he's going to go Hardy Warriors if you don't. Ilban does not have any water, and Beast is going to have first crack of it, and surely he's just going to go there. But Romba decides to just play it, I guess, quote-unquote safe. Just taking the shipping access here. I don't know. You can go both ways from it. It depends how big a threat you think Beast is going to be later on down the line. But I would have hated to see the Hardy Warriors there. And that was a big moment in this match for sure. You'll see later on. It's one thing I do remember. Ilban just sets up his smuggling with his signet ring. Probably just looking to just go and like hit a faction with some cards or something. So he can go smuggling next round, try and get hold of his Swordmaster first. Probably likely to get there. Beast does go straight to Great Flat, cutting off Helena. Not ideal. Does mean the Beast has got no water, however, which is a big part of this. Which means Helena has exclusive access to Hardy Warriors if she wants it. And when you've got that shipping bump already registered, it looks pretty damn tempting to go heavy at this combat and use that for pretty much guaranteed sword, well, full guaranteed sword master in the third round here, because no one can block you. And it's like, what else could you do here? You could go Still Suits once the Blue Moon, I guess. Well feels pretty bad, though. I feel like when you've got that shipping bump, you pretty much have to take full advantage of it, and you just got to go in for it here. So it's Hardy Warriors for me a lot of the time. Probably should just get in as well and just, like, put it all in and just try and keep people away from trying to go for it as well. So just jams and Hardy Warriors can't be a bad move. Rhombus ships. And Ilban have a couple of options. Could go Mentat in here, but no particular need to, I don't think. Just going to go Steel Suits, limp the troop in. It's a decent It's a decent third place here. Can't hate it at all. And then Beast with Seek Allies goes up to Conspiring, which is a clever little move, actually. And I actually like the move here from Beast to Conspire. Not just because he finds Sleepless Awaker, but it's 6 coins. It's a very cool spot here. So if Helena wins this and ships assumably, she gets the 7 money. And the problem that Ilban's got is that if he now smuggles and cashes in, that gives Beast the 8th coin. So this actually means that if Ilban smuggles next round and cashes in the money, he can't even get Swordmaster. I mean, Helena's going to have access anyways, but Ilban's going to be blocked in 2 different spots, and Beast is going to be able to benefit from that. So it was a cool move from Beast. Helena rips the row with her 4 persuasion, with her signet ring even is what she's doing here. My apologies. So ripping the road to try and find a decent card to isolate the signet ring. A couple of good choices here. Gurney Halleck is definitely an option, but probably but goes for Firm Grip. Should put the agent down officially before reserving the card. It should be noted. Because it is always agent first, then effects included in that, so hence it goes back there. So you can go to Arrakis, for example, and see if you pull another persuasion card to go for Gurney Halleck. Chris Haderach's out there as well. A couple of very strong cards. I'm not used to doing this, like doing the commentary after the fact. It's not something I want to make a regular habit of, mind you. But hey-ho. Helena probably feels like she's just going to put in more forces here. She needs to win this. Fine strategic push, actually, which is a pretty useful little card for her, though, actually. That opens up a chance that maybe once on Blue Moon, she, like, just goes to wealth instead of cashing in for the money, like, depriving Beast of the money. I mean, once the Blue Moon, but I don't really see why you'd bother. So, Romba just reveals for a couple, again, having not gotten involved with the fighting here. And deciding that he was going to stick out of this one. Only Spy Smuggler's really purchasable or a liaison. I'm not sure I'm buying either as Romba here a lot of the time. And I don't believe they do. I mean, if you want to purchase one liaison, I don't hate it. But it doesn't feel great. Ilban with 2 as well. Saving the Seek Allies card, by the way. So saving the faction access for a second spin. Don't hate that at all here. Beast also with the dagger to tie. Free persuasion for them. Not much a progression on the Talaxu track early in this one. Goes to plan coupling. Seems pretty good to me. You know, faction grafting. Solid card. And then Helena with 4 will pick up the Firm Grip. And we'll move on here. So Helena will get the win. Beast and Ilban get the choice of a Intrigue Award. Officially, Ilban has to choose first. It's done in order. I was just going to see if Helena was going to consider playing Strategic Push to pick up the money here. But decides not to, which is totally fine. You think a lot of the time, Ilban probably just takes the Intrigue, and Beast notably takes the Water, again, eyeing up further assaulting of Hardy Warriors. Recruit mission found for Ilban. Nice card from him, especially with, like, Quiz Haderach on the road. Looks very tasty. Very, very tasty indeed. To top deck like a card like that, oof, feels pretty good. And with Spice in hand, Ilban also, a lot of the time, is eyeing up maybe going, like, Slits of Breeding. Maybe even, like, shipping Mentat Slits of Breeding, something like that. Looks very strong. Use Recruit Mission, top deck Quiz Haderach. A lot of fun to be had there. Speaking of the Mentat, that is the subject of the third conflict. There is Sort Through the Chaos, the Mentat fight here. Never great to see this when you're Ulban, because of course you want to be hitting Mentat space as much as possible, so that unless you win it, and if you do win it, sometimes you want to actually still hit the space anyways, so not a good conflict this for Ulban, for sure. Everyone also wants a piece of that money. No Swordmasters yet, and now we see the situation that Ulban finds itself in. So yeah, if he goes shipping, gives Beast Swordmaster, but that just is what it is. Can't really do much to avoid the situation. So just takes the cash, calls it a day. Bumping down, makes sense, he's got nothing to trash from his discard pile. Finds Ixion Probe, which is a very good card for him, especially if he's targeting Kwisatz Haderach here. A lot of potential fun here. Beast has to Signet Ring to the Swordmaster. Only council access card. Not particularly ideal. Lair does not have to go Swordmastering first. They've got options. Still Suits looks pretty good. Could also go Fold Space, potentially, to cut off Hundro's shipping access. And decides to do so. Can't really hate it. Hundro's got kind of a weird hand here. He's got Diplo, both Fold Spaces, and Experimentation. It's almost too strong a hand here, really. It's not going to be able to make a ton of use out of this. And can't even, like, say, use Fold Space at one of the Mentat spots, because now Helena is threatening to go into Southern Shipping. And Helena can definitely justify going instead of shipping and ignoring Swordmaster for a round. Like, she can get away with that, because, of course, she can just infiltrate. She doesn't really care. So, forced to just do it. Goes with a Fold Space card instead of Experimentation, which was an interesting choice. Finds Negotiated Withdrawal, which is actually a pretty good find. And the question is, what does Romba do here? You'd expect probably just goes down and up. You could go up and down and get Disposal Facility. But again, your hand is kind of awkward here. Although Disposal can be pretty useful. Negotiated Draw obviously is a really strong reveal card. And you could use it to trash a dagger out your hand here. Don't hate it, but just decides to go down and up, which is probably also fine. Again, more cash. There's money absolutely everywhere here. Romba needs to make sure they start offloading these troops. Eyeing up, it's a bit difficult to go for the Spacing Alliance because Helena has got there in front of you. A little bit tricky, trying to work out what Helena's hand is here, whether it's worth trying to greet the faction, but just going Fremen to open up siege access can't be bad, helps to make your ring a little bit easier to use, a little bit less restriction on the mining spaces. Ulban, as noted, will go Mentat here. Probably just going to go Selective Breeding with Seek Allies, make a punt for Kwisatz Haderach, looks pretty strong. Beast recons it to Arrakis, finds a dagger, just going to probably just chuck in everything here and try and get as much out of this conflict as he can. Is he going to win it? Not particularly likely, but he'll live for second place here. Swordmaster for Helena. And then Romba Vernius has a bit of a tricky spot here. Hardy Warriors looks pretty good. And Hardy Warriors put in 4 and then look to possibly retreat through Negotiated Withdrawal is definitely an option here. And that's exactly what we see from Romba Vernius. Seems a pretty good move. Sometimes you're keeping the troops just to win it outright. Like, you're not obligated to retreat the troops. You might opt to do so, but I think at this point, given the way the Swordmaster's kind of coming out, I would probably be more interested in picking up the Swordmaster here. So Ulban has got 7 Persuasion already. So he doesn't even have to Selective Breed, which is insane. So he just goes Wealth here, which isn't a bad time to pick it up. He's got his, he needs to get his Swordmaster. He will want to pick up High Council here, especially if he is able to get hold of Kwisatz Haderach here. Just gotta hope no one blows the row. Beast picks up some Spice at Basin. Again, wants to be winning these fights here because of the situation with the wind traps here. So Romba's going to be put into a difficult position here. Beast just puts in the 1 troop, which makes this really tricky to know what's going on here. Romba Verge. Romba knows he's only got 1 dagger here, but what on earth does Beast have? Beast will not be revealing ahead of time here, so this is a difficult position for Romba Verge to know what to do. And not an enviable spot here. Could keep the troops in, but will only tie But it feels really bad to retreat the troops and give Beast the win here, giving him mass action economy, more water for wind traps. Looks very, very scary indeed. So a difficult spot upcoming here for Rombavernius. Helena's got city access. Carthag probably seems fine. But ends up going Arrakis to draw their water pedal, which is their bottom card, which I don't hate. Probably just limp in the troop, take the resources, call it a day. Gear up for combating probably the next round. Seems totally fine. So what do you do is Rombavernius. Very difficult spot. Very awkward. You don't really know much what's going on. You kind of want to stick in for the Mentat here, especially because you're kind of struggling with action economy here. There's a lot of problems on it. But you don't know. You've no battle intrigues behind you. You've got the one sword. Like, Beast could have you beat here. And if Beast has you beat, they're very likely to play it. Use the 5 position to pick up Duncan Loyal, which is pretty good for later on. Using that to just basically, you could use that with Negotiated to like retreat load troops and then trash Duncan Loyal and send them all in. Looks pretty good. But decides to retreat and just gives it up. So, big result here for Jammy. He's going to pick up more water, Mentat, and it's looking a very nice start here for Beast here. Very nicely crafted. Ilban reveals for the 7, plus the 1 for recruit mission, and we'll pick up Quizit's Haderach, which will be top debt, which is a great result. And then Beast here with 4 persuasion in hand. Nothing really heavy to go for faction-wise. Could maybe go occasionally Chris Knife. But I think this is where Beast rips the row here. He's eyeing it up. He rips it. And look what he finds. He finds Sayadina with Satellite Ban and Wind Traps already at his disposal. An insane draw. A completely insane draw. Lots of other great cards as well. Lady Jessica's out there. Replacement Eyes, Benny Sisters. But that is a potential match winner there for the Beast here. What an insane fight. How do you find Sayadina on an Atomics when you've got Wind Traps and Satellite Ban in hand? Absolutely wild. And it's bad news for Romba as well, because Sayadina is going to be used to target the Fremen. Is going to be going Steel Suits a lot, and that's going to put Romba under pressure with the Fremen Alliance here. So difficult times are ahead for Valen. Not looking great here. Beast looking very dangerous in the mid to late game now. Nothing to be played here. Helena decides to use strategic push now, just to basically recycle the intrigue. Looks pretty reasonable. Valen's never really going to use an intrigue to beat you here. So, just the coins taken across here. Beast finds Vicious Talents. Not doing a lot to help him right now, but it's not a huge deal. Red also will be picking up an intrigue. Finds Blackmail. Very nice mid-game intrigue. That can win you a lot of skirmishes. Not skirmishes, but the sieges of the various map places for victory points and stuff. Speaking of victory points, it's Desert Power, which is not only a victory point, it's also water. And Beast has got all the water. He's got high number access. He's got the action economy. Oh, yeah. Looking very, very strong here. Probably just going to go Selective Breeding first up here. He's got cards to trash from his discard. He needs cards in hand in order to discard with Satellite Band, stuff like that. But opts just to go straight for Hagar Basin immediately here. There's a lot of spice to be had there for sure. And the Beast is just going to absolutely swim here. So no real reason to play clan coupling here. Might as well just use experimentation. Save that for, again, potential secrets or selective breeding or whatever you really want to do here. Very strong potential here for Beast to do a lot of carnage. Finds counter sensation. Probably isn't doing much for him. Also needs the spice of the Must Awaken. So Beast just basically needs to swim in resources and use that to just completely overwhelm his opponents. Very scary stuff going on. Helena finds Firm Grip, but doesn't go there straight away. She needs to get hold of shipping, of course, or feels she's got to get hold of shipping. So goes ahead and gets in front there. Does go into wealth at risk. Puts Lady J to the side with the Signet Ring. No realistic chance, I don't think, of her ever actually getting hold of that unless she's going to go research stationing with Fold Space. But even then, looks very difficult to see how Elena's going to play that unless she's going to go research station, Fold Space, as well as High Council. That's the only way I can see her actually getting hold of Lady Jessica, but she's surely going to be playing Wealth at some point. So pretty much just getting Lady Jessica out the row so that it can't be targeted by anyone, which is, you know, I don't entirely hate that. So back to green here. And things, yeah, looking a little bit awkward here for Romba. Has to pretty much go Swordmaster first up here, you would imagine. You can't let Ilban have that, especially knowing he's got Quizzes. It's really awkward, though, because Ilban, of course, has Quizzes Haderach. So he can just infiltrate Swordmaster later on anyways. So, yeah, not a fun spot for Romba Vernius, this, at all. The great thing as well is that Ilban can actually take 2 actions and then can make his third the teleport over to Swordmaster and then have a forward action anyway. So Ilban can actually do 2 things and then get his Swordmaster on his third action, which is absolutely wild. Poison Snooper found at Carfag, another good card for him. Loads of card drawing potential. So a lot of crazy stuff going on here. You'd feel that yellow and blue are looking like the 2 probably most likely to get ahead of this one. So Beast just goes secret ultimately using the dagger. So now he's definitely threatening highlighting this fight here. And he's got every reason to do so. Finds illicit dealings so he can even potentially get ahead of the Talaxu as well and find that spice. Absolutely crazy drawing this for the Beast here. This is real good stuff. I don't know why I never seem to get this when I play the Beast. But what can you do? So, yeah. Very scary, this. Helena does look at going Research Station with Fold Space, so is trying to find a way to maybe pick up Lady J here. Once on a blue moon, but it's kind of hard to do it. This is a very committing move if you do this. And basically just completely whiffs the draw here. It draws basically every card that doesn't give her Persuasion, so any potential chance of finding Lady J is completely lost. And it also means her next hand is going to be awkward. Loads of convincings and stuff like that in there, so not a great draw, you don't think, for Helena. You could argue she gets the Research Station for cheaper, and I guess there's a degree of truth in that, but that's about the only thing you can feel too good with. It's even awkward as well, like, you've got the 2 daggers, but are you really going to be winning this fight? Probably not. Very awkward, this. Probably just put it on the 1 and call it a day, and that's exactly what we do see here. Romba Arrakis it. Just got to put troops in. Feel like you got to put pressure on the conflict here, but this feels a bit forlorn. Hard to see how you're going to win this fight a lot of the time here. Very difficult spot for Valen early. Ilban could just use his Diplo. He does not have to use Kwisatz right now. And he realizes that, oh yeah, is that... But he decides to do it anyways. For reasons I don't really know why. Like, you could have used the Diplo first and get in front of somewhere that you don't want anyone else getting to. Maybe like Wealth or Full Space and then done it. I don't know. Is that whatever? Guess he just wanted the card draw maybe for Ixion Probe or something. I'm not entirely sure. But decides to just do it straight away. It's like, whatever. So Beast is basically looking to go Satellite Ban at Highliner. Pretty much all day here. So he gets Diplo to go wherever here. And when Beast just goes, like, the Diplo to Wealth there, that should be a pretty decent indicator that Highliner is almost certainly incoming here. And if I was sitting in green seat and seeing green looking at my discard, I would be basically at this point 100% sure that Beast Raban is going Highliner here. And that, yeah, this is going to start getting really, really ugly in a hurry. Not looking good at all, this. Very difficult spot. You know, sometimes you can get little Little bits of information from your opponent. Also, the fact that Beast goes Wealth there, punishing the fact that Helena should basically have just gone Wealth first. Because, of course, the research station she could infiltrate, but now has nowhere to go with Firm Grip. Beast taking advantage of that situation and putting her in a real difficult spot here. Good move from Beast to make the Wealth block. That's the problem. When you've got a card like Firm Grip, you've got to hit these spaces early. You try and greet it there and trying to go research station. Just not necessary. No one can go there, and you can infiltrate that spot anyways. So Helena definitely should have gone Firm Grip first. Gets punished as a result. So after a bit of a tank, can't even use Firm Grip, decides not to bother. Just goes Still Suits to pick up 2 water with the Water Peddler as well, and just kind of try and cut loss as best as possible. But yeah, definitely Helena taking the wrong route about it. And that is a mistake that is going to put a lot in the long run, especially in a game like this where Beast is threatening so much carnage in the future here. Difficult early spot. Helena considering maybe occasionally trying to get involved in the fight here, especially got both daggers and you got blackmail. It is kind of tempting to try and just go in here, but it is what it is. Romba doesn't even worry about trying to go Carfag, winning the fight here. Just gonna go Imperial Basin, and just take the stuff here. Puts in the extra 2 troops though. Not really in any expectation, I don't think, of winning this fight. Basically, at this point, you're just charging a price for Beast. And you just basically tell him, alright, if you're going to win this, you're going to have to put in everything. Which is probably about the best thing you can do. Ilban goes for Disposal Facility. Ilban, at this point, basically wants to just see Kwisatz Haderach every single time he physically can. Makes total sense to me. Here comes the High Line for the Beast. This is all going in, of course. He's got an interesting spot here of whether he actually discards his dagger for the troop and spice, for the spice and water. And it's debatable whether you actually should bother doing it. I actually don't think, I think the answer is you shouldn't do this because you don't need the spice for a lot and you're already going to have 4 water here. And you still got to go to the Fremen and such anyways. So it's debatable if you want to basically discard this for a spice. But he decides to do so in the end, which I don't hate. I guess if Romba had gone Carfag instead, you probably hold on to the dagger. But as such, yeah. So Beast is going to be absolutely swimming in water here. If he wins the fight and gets wind traps, he's at 6 water, which is completely absurd with Sayadina in hand here. And is very, very scary indeed. Doesn't even have access to Siege as well. Just completely absurd. So Helena just reveals for some bits, but not very much. Terrible reveal for her. Romba with 6 persuasion finds Corner Market. Not the intrigue they were looking for. They were hoping to find something battling. Corner Market is obviously pretty good, but Brombavernia is going the corner route. Not looking too great here. Decides to go for replacement eyes, with obviously a bit of cardry intention perhaps, but it's difficult spot for Romba. And Ilban will just set with full space to try and maybe get around to some round 7 shipping. But yeah, this is very, very problematic now. Beast looking very scary here. Ilban with 6 persuasion means that he will be able to trash the recon out of his hand with Disposal Facility. So a lot of good stuff going on here. Couple of interesting cards on the road for him. Couple of decent stuff. Testing Humanity looks pretty good. Keys to Power looks great for Ilban, by the way. He can definitely find that second Emperor bump. But ends up going for Testing Humanity and just Bene Gesserit Sister. Just basically just buying 2 Persuasion Reveal cards to just buy Spiceless Flows. And I think Ilban at this point is pretty much knows that he's going to have to just buy just a plethora of Spiceless Flows to try and keep up. Because Beast is about to accelerate insanely like he's some sort of Formula 1 dragster. Even picks up unnatural reflexes as well. Not top decking it, but takes this again. Just wanting to see Kwisatz Haderach every single hand he physically can, and you can't particularly hate that. So Beast takes it down, takes 2 water. Sayadina is set for the rest of this match, and yeah, a lot of problems here for the table. Round 5 is Machinations, as well as more water. Insane conflict here. And that's what you want to see, is when you've got Sayadina and you've just spent everything and won a big battle, what you want to see is a combat like Machinations, where, alright, you're not going to win it, but you don't care. As long as you get in position, you're getting your water to pay for Sayadina. Like, it's just completely insane. Absolutely bonkers. Helena's eye is up. Not easy spot is for Helena in a way. She really wants to get to Great Flat, but she just doesn't have the ability to go there. Has to go shipping here, surely. The question is, does she go for a tech or not? Problem is, what tech could she go for? She's only got one spice. She can't get Holtzman or Shuttle Fleet. She's a spice short of it. Restrictive Ordnance, maybe you could go for... I don't hate going for Restrictive Ordnance with intentions of trying to go High Council late. You can't be blocked. And the question's got to be asked is, what are you doing with the money here? So that's kind of, I think, what I was talking about at the time here. I wouldn't mind going up and down and picking Restrictive Ordnance and finds even more combat here, but ultimately decides just to take the bumps here. I think I would have taken Restrictive Ordnance and tried to bank myself on like round 7. Someone's going to have to stop the beast in round 7. And it's not looking too great here. Rombo with another kind of tricky sort of hand here. Diplomacy is nice, but when you draw both convincing arguments with your restrictive or with your negotiate withdrawal, it's never great. Always feels really bad here. So a couple of options potentially. Romba could go still suits, get in front of the Fremen Alliance, which you think could be under fire later with intention of going reset station. You could even consider maybe trying to go early selective, but just opts to go Arrakis. I think with still intentions of going selective breeding, if it's still there and it comes back around. Fires a dagger, not really what they were looking for. Gotta get the free troops in when you got negotiated in your deck. You just always gotta get them in. Ilban just hitting fold space with space travel. Looks good again. He just wants to draw cards as much as humanely possible. Beast will pick up the spice at Great Flat, threatening more Highliner carnage in the near future. Even picks up the Talaxius spice as well. Beast absolutely swimming in resources here. Looking very good. And the problem is, yeah, how do you stop Beast now? Like, this looks really problematic. The only problem that Beast has got is his friendships aren't doing amazing. Maybe you can try and keep him away from getting an alliance somehow, but still looking very difficult here. Helena just wealths it. Obviously with intentions of making up for Firm Grip's miss earlier in the game. And also thinking that they can just infiltrate Carthag or whatever else anyways later on here. So I don't hate that, but maybe given its machinations and it's such a big conflict, maybe you should be looking to go Hardy Warriors yourself. Maybe even still suit yourself onto the Blue Moon. I feel like it'd be better off just putting in forces in order to try and win this conflict here. Very important that you win this fight, I feel. Unless you're going to rely on Private Army and Blackmail to do the work here. Rombo gets a selective breeding, as noted. Decides to trash the dagger instead of the recon, which, you know, is fine, I guess. But has to draw cards here to try and find better actions. And he draws his other dagger and experimentation. Not great. Not ideal this at all for Rombovernius. Looking for better access than that. Doesn't find it at all. Ilban with a couple of actions here. Ixion Probe, Snoopers in hand. Mentat is somehow still available for Ilban. Probably just has to go there. Could use Test of Humanity to do it, I guess. But I think I'll probably just use the Signet Ring. Just keeping the money there. Surely you just want to be drawing cards here. If you can get like 5 actions on a round. And now if you find Quizzes Haderach, that's also instead of shipping Infiltration. Like for me, it's Mentat all day. But go Secrets instead, just to get that faction bump, which is a choice. Beast getting rid of a convincing. He's got no choice. Needs to use Recon and Sidina. It's also a notable move because Beast, you think a lot of the time, is actually wanting to go Secrets of Sidina. That's the great thing. If you've got Tunnel of Sidina, you're not obliged to actually have to go to the Fremen. You want to be able to do with Sidina is go to the Bene Gesserit and still have the water to spend without having to go still suits. That's what you want to do with Sidina. So I think the test move there was a slight block to that. That's the only thing I can think that it sort of was. But obviously does create some potential danger for losing out on your Mentat here, which you definitely are going to want a lot of the time here. But I don't hate the move. After a slight confusion, Red discards the convincing as well. So BC initially goes still suits for the Sidina point. But I think if memory serves, they actually change their minds slightly. And I think they end up opting. And you can see the hesitation on clicking the past turn here. And they're like, do I really need to do this? There's water in the combat. Surely I should be trying to go after this. Surely it's an option for me here. And so that's exactly what happens here. Decides to not worry about still suits because there's conflict water here. And instead Hardy worries it, which I do think is a good move. You don't need to worry about that there. You can pick up the water elsewhere. Siege is also available to you now. So you're looking Recon to Siege, for example. Pick up a couple of water there. Looks pretty good here, so I think it's a right move. No one else, I don't think, is going Siege a lot of the time. Helena goes Carfag. Got to put some troops in. Secrets of the Sisterhood's found for the Benny Bump. Nice find for them. Rombor, not enjoying life here at all. Probably about the only move you've got is to go like to one of the mining spots and just put in your 4th troop and then probably retreat all 3. But it's difficult again because Helena's put in 3. It's a really important conflict. You want to win this, but you can't even send Negotiator to like Carfag. You could go to Siege maybe, but you feel like you've probably got these experimentations. Yeah, Valen just finding a lot of tricky spots in this one. I would not have hated just sending Negotiated to Siege and just putting it all in and shutting your eyes. But it's really difficult to pull that trigger. Very, very tough indeed. You know if you're doing this, you're basically at this point giving up on Machinations as well, and that doesn't feel too great. I'd probably go Imperial Basin with the intentions that you're going to pick up a water from the fight, most likely. But you could also go smuggling with eyeing up potentially going for Holtzman or Shuttle Fleet next round. Bear in mind they've got Corner the Market here, so they might be eyeing up Holtzman Engine at this point and just putting everything behind Spicer's Flow buying, which feels, again, really bad as Rhombovernius. It means that Beast is going to be pretty much like unregulated in combat and is going to do pretty much whatever the hell they want and just dominate it, which is a pretty bad spot for the table. Very difficult here. Helena reveals for a couple. Not much going on here. And now, again, this is another difficult spot here for Rhombovernius. So now what do you do here? It's just like, you know, Helena reveals and doesn't even reveal any swords. Like, are you just going to reveal and let her just win Machinations for 3 troops? Feels pretty bad. Feels pretty bad, but that was obviously the plan here. So, you know, maybe there's an argument to be said that Romba perhaps once or twice could have, like, decided just to... You don't have to retreat when you find a Negotiator. I think there are occasions where players just get sucked into, oh, I've got Negotiator, I have to retreat to get the bump. You don't have to, I don't think. Sometimes I think you can justify not doing it. The Sandal Gaib turns here, which is not a bad-looking card, especially if she's looking to pick up some techs here. Maybe that spice could be useful. Also, potential Fremen defense as well. And this is crazy. So, goes for Keys to Power, which surprised me because they have no Emperor influence. Why don't you not at least go maybe Gildercore for cheap Highliners and Infiltration? Not entirely sure. Basically, looking for the 2 Persuasion here at this point, and basically just deciding I'm just going to go ahead and just probably turtle up and buy Spicer's Flows. Webber Power comes up, and Rombor immediately rips the row Do you want to see how long it took them to rip the row? You ready? Counting. So it appears 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Didn't hang about. Oh, dear me. Ilbon gets to go still suiting. Still looking for Quizz's Haderach, but has not yet found it. Has to limp in the troop here. No reason not to. Beast with a couple of persuasion. Picks up Shut Up Mapes. Nice little card for them. The Talaxu Master turns up here. First one for Ilban. And while Ilban was, I think, considering looking to get up for a Spiceless Flow, at this point, I don't think he really needs to be honest. Talaxu Master looks pretty good in a deck where you're already spinning through your cards pretty fast, and you've got Poison Snooper and Ixion Probe. Yeah, Talaxu Master looks pretty good. Because they've got, 7 persuasion, but at this point, they might as well just take Talaxu Master for the 5 and take the +2 swords, get in front of blue, right? I don't see a reason not to. Looks pretty good to me. Long Reach is also in the deck, which is definitely a consideration. But, Talaxu Master's hard to turn down, Hard to turn down, especially because Talaxu Master gives you basically an extra 2 money here because Beast is never going to bother to spend an intrigue to beat you here. Just never going to happen. And that's exactly what we see here. Talaxu Master taken. So Ilban also setting himself up for a late game surge. The question is going to be, can the Beast finish this game off and get it shut out before Ilban is able to convert his superior deck into an advantage? That is the question. And that's what a lot of this match is going to come down to, you feel. Helena wins it pretty cheaply. Beast gets his rewarder for a troop, which is all he wanted here. Very, very strong, this. Helena a couple of factions to take bumps here. Depends how greedy she's feeling. She could go for Emperor and or Spacing Alliances here. And opts to go Emperor. But takes the Bene Gesserit bump as well. Doesn't want to go too insane with trying to, greed alliances, which I don't hate. We move on. Round 6 is Imperial Basin. And more water. Mavoni's first up here. Has his Signet Ring in hand, so he can get hold of Holtzman or Shuttle Fleet here. Both are options for him. Beast does not draw very good here, by the way. Beast draws pretty poorly, all things being equal. Very difficult draw for him. So what does Romavonius want to do here? So we'll go shipping. And then this tells the story. Do you go Shuttle Fleet or do you go Holtzman Engine? Goes Holtzman. Another big decision here. Is it the correct move? I don't know. And I didn't know at this point. And I'm still not entirely sure, being honest, looking back on this, whether you take this over the Shuttle Fleet here. I think a lot of the time, I'm probably just taking Shuttle Fleet because the problem is your friendships are really struggling. You're also potentially going to be under pressure at the Fremen Alliance here, and you're still going to find 2 bumps here, and you're still going to find bumps here and bumps here. I know you've got the Emperor bump, which is, I guess, makes it a little bit better here. But once you go Holtzman, you are basically committing yourself to, I've got to buy 2 Spicemas Flows, and I have to get all the points from these cards here. The problem is this is round 6. So you're basically, at this point, you are basically saying, I need to get a Spicemas Flow this round, and I need to get a Spicemas Flow next round. Or this game somehow has to go 8 rounds, which it maybe not even might even happen because Beast is really rocking along at a great pace. And I've got to somehow, sorry about that, and I've got to somehow beat Ilban, who's got a crazy debt brewing here. So, maybe it's a bit of damned if you don't. I don't know which way you go there. There is also perhaps a potential of, well, I can't let Ilban ever get hold of Holtzman Engine. Which I guess also has a degree of reason to it. But yeah, goes to Holtzman Engine. At this point, basically, he's just going to Just going to close the shutters here, batten down the hatches, and just hope to brute force as the spices flows. Difficult spot. But also clearly a premeditated move. This, no question about that. Like, this has been in the works for a little while. This is the route that Rombo feels that they've got to go down to try and win this one. But an unenviable spot they find themselves in. It's going to take some serious work to get themselves out of the tournament here, and then having declined the shuttle fleet bumps, still buffs and protects up the Fremen. That is putting exceptional pressure on finding your friendships with the Emperor and the Bene Gesserit. So it's basically relying on, pretty much at this point, is saying, well, I'm going to take my bump from the Talaxu, and I'm going to find a bump with Diplo or negotiate withdrawal, and that's going to get my friendships. But yeah, that's a very, very interesting bump, that. The other thing that's insane of going Holtzman is it revealed flagships. Who had a really bad hand and wasn't sure what they were going to do with it, and has loads of spice, and has money doing nothing right now? Yeah. What an insane come out that is for Beast. That's basically the best tech that could appear from him at this point, outside of maybe Spy Satellites. An insane total. And now Beast can just start flagshipping into fights with Highliners, with his Signet Ring. Completely insane. And surely at this point, Beast is now favourite to win this. If this game ends in the end of the 7th round, Beast wins. If it goes any longer, maybe Webben has a chance to catch up, but Webben now has to hope that Beast somehow doesn't close this out in the next round and change. And it's looking very, very likely that Beast is probably going to get over the line here in 7 rounds. Ilban just doesn't have enough time. Helena mentats it with her admittedly pretty poor hand. Decides to Signet Ring it. Which, I'll be honest, not the biggest fan of. I guess the idea is you're going to probably go High Counseling. Just wants to get a card out the row, I suppose. But I don't really know what you're trying to get out. Like, I would probably just be using the dagger here, truthfully. But the assumption is that Helena is looking to target this fight. The other issue she's got is wealth is blocked again for Firm Grip. So that's twice now that Firm Grip doesn't have a natural place to go to. So getting very difficult for Red this now. What does Rombovernius do here? He's got Duncan Lauren in hand. Is this the round to try and go aggressive here? Do you basically go all in for this point here and then just button down the hatches, hope it goes 8 rounds, and you get your 2 Spiceless Flows? Opens up with Smuggling, which is a very surprising move. But the reason is to get hold of the money. Rombovernius is prepping up for High Council. Rombovernius is eyeing up High Council. She's going to need for these Spiceless Flows. Ilban's just going to draw 1 million cards. He's off to Haga Basin. He's going to get a load of spice. Kwisatz Haderach is on its way. Reinforcements is in hand as well. That could be dangerous next round. Oh, yeah, that happened, didn't it? Yes. Romba, yeah, it double did it. Very occasionally, I've noticed that very randomly. I don't know what caused it, but very occasionally you do get that. But I feel that's what Rombovernius is going for here, is trying to get their way through to High Council. I forgot that happened. Beast just grabs the spice at Basin. Of course, he's still got Sleep Must Awaken to pay for here. Sayadina is on its way back around. Doesn't even have to get involved in this fight as well. Like, you can just limp in for the water here, and Sayadina just... You just send Sayadina to the Bene Gesserit, you just win this game a lot. Helena now can't get a hold of any spice in order to... She could go Great Flat if she's that desperate to get hold of Firm Grip being used. You could go Great Flat Conspire. And that is a potential option. Great Flat, conspire, use the money to go to the Bene Gesserit and just charge it with your intrigue. And I think that's what we start seeing here. Does go here. This was not what Helena wanted to do, was going Great Flat, was not part of the plan. But also, again, wants to get troops in here. Makes the trash, which is interesting. Doesn't trash any of the daggers out of her hand, which is also very interesting. So that tells us that she's potentially occasionally going to get involved in this. Romba owes Savfk. Finds charisma. Good for buying spice later. Ilban up here. Couple of actions in hand. Feels that they've got to get Spice Must Flow this round. They get into High Council first. In case Helena was considering to go in there later, which is pretty likely. Conspire and High Council looks pretty possible. Beast just taking more water. Just a near infinite supply of water here. Just garrisoning up for next round. No need to get involved here. Jammy in a very strong spot. Now, Helena also wants to get hold of this alliance as well, because then she can start revealing Firm Grip for the... can start revealing it. But then she pivots, which I didn't expect at the time, and I forgot she did here. She goes for the other move here, which is actually a pretty cool little move, this, and just greeds it, basically. Goes shuttle fleeting with the Dreadnought in order to go for everything here, basically. And just goes for both alliances, which is a cool move. And I don't hate it at all. But it definitely caught me off guard. And the only other danger of this is that, obviously, you are resourceless at this point. And that is very scary. But maybe Red feeling that it's kind of already at last throw of the dice territory here. Speaking of last throw of the dice territory, watch this. Rumba reveals free persuasion. And watch this. Just bombs it with Duncan Loyal and chucks everything in on this conflict. Just absolutely rips everything in here. And that is Ron Bavonius saying, I'm going to win this fight, and then I'm playing solitaire, and I hope I win this. It feels like a move of someone who feels that they're really struggling to win this. Very bad spot. Mimic Film comes up, by the way, in the Imperium row, and that takes Ilban's interest. That's a pretty looking card. Tech for them. They've already got the High Council as well. But what do you want to do with Kwisatz Haderach? You've got a lot of options here. You've got, have you got council access to maybe pick up Mimic next round? What do you want to do here? A lot of options. Poison Snooper, Ixion. Spice is basically guaranteed. You have to score it here. You're still missing a Bene Gesserit friendship. Secrets could be an interesting move. And watch this. Just goes wealth again. Just goes wealth again. And I'm like, what? The idea is to go Mentat, of course, but not a comfortable move for Red. Red hates to see that. Ilban does have to draw a card for Kwisatz Haderach. It is mandatory. Beast reveals for 5. Sea Reverend Mother, just for a little bit of extra sizzle to the steak that is already looking incredibly juicy. Very nice card. Helena with not much else to do here. That was my only problem with going and doing that route, is it means that your Fort is basically not really doing much of anything at this point. It's just basically just going tech negotiation and not much else. But in any event, so Ilban reveals for 11. He throws in reinforcements for the water here. He feels he's got to do this to get in front of Ilban and just deny him the water here, which is Very interesting, but it means he can actually put in the reinforcements and pick up the swords. The only problem with this of Ilban is, like, what is this water going to be used for? You're now basically setting yourself up for research station for... But then, I don't know how he's going to make use of all this water here. Feels a little bit liberal, but that's just me. In the event, gets rid of the ring with disposal, takes the Spiceman's Flow, and he's just going to kind of hope this all works out. I guess the idea is you could potentially, in 2 rounds, if it goes 8 rounds, you could quiz its Haderach research station. I guess that's possible. But Beast doesn't really care. Like, he's being denied water here. He's already got his free water. Like, you know, he doesn't care at all here. Everyone's like, Beast is like, so be it. I've got my 4 spice. I've got my Sayadina. I've got my Bene Gesserit point. I've just got to find a 10th point from somewhere, and this game is over. And could it be here? Economic supremacy is the round 7 conflict. How is anyone stopping Beast from getting a top 2 finish in this combat? Oh dear, is the answer you're looking for. This looks ominous for the table. Very ominous for the table, this. And the problem is, as well, is that Beast's, one of his points is hidden as well. They might feel just stopping him from winning the conflict outright is enough, but, well, he doesn't really care. It's a great turn up for him, this. The fact he can get second and find his 10th point just directly from the combat here. Great opportunity for Beast to do a lot of damage. And just win it on the spot, which he probably needs to do, because, again, Ilban is threatening to just start going through the gears here, but it's just taken him too long to get this deck going. Beast have a real chance to shut it out here. What do you do first move? You feel like you've got to go research station a lot, right? But he goes selective reading first. Feels he's got to get his Bene Gesserit point now, so he's going to be trashing and drawing 4. Forces a discard from his opposition. It's actually kind of awkward for Helena, who's drawn really awkwardly here. Sometimes when you make that, like in a round 7, and you get them to do that discard immediately, that can definitely throw off your opposition and make life difficult. No question about that. So draws his 4, finds Kwisatz. Happy days. So here's Sayadina. Goes Stilted of it, interestingly. Which is a bit of a surprise move. You think you just go to Secret of that a lot of the time. And to be honest, for me, it is a surprising move. No, I think I'm just going Secrets here. Instead of Sayadina, instead of Steel Suits. That's just my personal preference here. You're hoping no one goes Secrets, but the problem is there's a lot of competition for this faction. No one's got much progress on it. Like, if Secrets gets blocked, you know, how you finding, unless at this point Beast thinks they're just gonna win the conflict outright. They're also potentially, I guess, eyeing up what they might also be looking to do is also, you could just go Hagar Base and Highland. That's the other problem for here, Beast here. Like, Bene Gesserit is an obvious place to get this friendship point, but the problem is, he could also just Highline it. And just get hold of his point that way. Helena firm grips the Bene Gesserit here. A little bit scared that Yellow might be coming for the Alliance. It is a little bit of an uncomfortable move when he went to Wealth earlier. Also, occasionally we'll get hold of the Bene Gesserit Alliance. Rombo somehow gets a research station. He's a little bit surprised he gets her, I reckon. Trying to pick up these Spiceman's Flows. Rombo basically needs the game to go to 8 rounds. It's as simple as that. The game if the game goes 8 rounds, there's a chance here to hold on, but he's just got to hope that Beast doesn't close it here. And there's not much that Romba can do. So best he can do is just like get himself in as good a position for an 8th round and hope it turns up. If it doesn't, well, it's too late. This is the way it's got to be here. Charisma helps. Charisma means that Romba can kind of get some actions in and still be able to get some progress here, but it's still not an ideal spot. The other question for Romba Vernius as well is, what do they do in regards to the Talaxu point? Do they take the Beetle bump here to get the Talaxu point, or do they gamble on the faction? And this is what another reason why I didn't like the Holtzman buy earlier. Putting yourself, like, there's so much pressure to find these friendship points here. You know, is it really worth it for Holtzman? I don't know. Could go both ways on it. Ilban feels they've got to go secrets here to stop Beast getting there. It's an obvious place to go. Also, it's an alliance that he's potentially eyeing up going for with Kwisatz Haderach and just bombing. Talaxi Master could also get hold of it for them. The problem with Ilban, though, is he's got to get this Talaxu point, so he probably has to go there with Kwisatz itself. Because the Talaxi Master's got to go and get hold of the Talaxu Beetle on the track in order to get hold of that point here. But again, Ilban is also playing for 8 rounds here, so there's an argument that says he doesn't even bother. And he might not bother. Actually, he doesn't even need to. Oh, well. No, he does. No, he would need to get hold of the Beetle to get hold of the Talaxi point this round. And then Beast reveals Satellite Ban. And at this point, it's like, oh dear, this looks pretty bad. Finds the move at Hardy Warriors. Beast just has to go here. This is a little bit of a dangerous move, though. I've got to say, this is a dangerous move. Like, when you're eyeing up going fold space here, and then you pivot to Hardy Warriors, you are begging for people to go fold space and block you. And that is if you just like don't and you just go Hardy Warriors and put it in, but you float with fold space and then go Hardy Warriors, and it's clear that they need to try and stop you from getting these friendship points. That is a problem. And Beast realizes it. And realizes this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And he's right. Beast does not have to win this fight. He's got Sleep Must Awaken. Fold space is the correct move. And that's that. And surely this game is now over. Beast has Sleep Must Awaken for 9. As long as they get second place in this combat, which looks certain with Vicious Talents and such in hand, this game's over. Yeah, and again, you see at this point, Green's saying that, I hope you win this fight. Well, the problem is, Beast doesn't need to. There's no question that Beast ran pretty decently this game. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Beast ran pretty well. Again, finding Sayadina off on Atomics when you've already got Satellite Ban and Wind Traps, and then every combat after that, there's water in 2nd and 3rd place, is pretty ridiculous. It's kind of a bit like Uprising and like some of the Worm Spandies seem something. They just get these conflicts, they just pick up just insane rewards for not doing very much work. And that occasionally does happen. But this was, like, as far as base Dune Imperium is concerned, or the original Dune Imperium, like, it's one of the times I've never quite seen it like this, where Sayadina is basically just 3 points. And there's not really any possibility of anyone really doing much about it. Just donating it. And flagships as well coming out after Romba takes Holtzman, and that's just another 3 point for Beast. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. So Romba Vernius goes into the shipping, because no one else has gone there yet. Might as well. It's a way to get hold of these friendship points. He's going to get hold of them all with Favored and this. And he's got to get hold of his Spice for Slow. Again, all Romba is thinking about is that I've just got to get hold of the Spice for Slow, and I've just got to hope that this game goes 8 rounds. Like, they obviously don't know that it is about to end here. Receive Must Awaken. They're assuming that Beast needs to win this fight in order to cash in the 4 Spice, but yeah, they're about to get a rude awakening on that. And it's a little bit of a shame, because, like, Ilban as well, Ilban had, like, crafted a really, really good deck here. Like, if this game goes another round, it's very possible that Ilban goes through, and like, he's able to score an absolute ton of points. He's, Bene Gesserit Alliance is there. He's going to get hold of, obviously more Spice Must Flows, maybe make some extra moves here, maybe even flirts with, like, the round 8 conflict or something. But yeah, crazy, crazy stuff. So Ilman trying to work out what the best move is. Again, he has to play. He's playing, assuming this is going 8 rounds. Even though we know that it's not going that far. No way to get the Highliner. No way to make much use out of Private Army. Again, secrets and just going back there with Kwisatz probably isn't a bad move. Just cement the alliance. Again, Talaxu Master gets you Talaxu point. Gets you, plus the Spice Must Flow, gets you to, what, 8 points? 8 points, and then you might feel not too bad. Yeah, Talaxu point gets you 6. Alliance gets you 7. Spice Must Flow 8. Maybe there's something else you could do here. Finds a cool little move, actually, which I didn't immediately spot. Decides to go Great Flatten first, which is actually a good move, because now what he can do is bump down on the... Well, you could do this to bump down on the factions and then go up, but what he's doing here is he's doing this to try and give himself a maybe remote chance of, maybe finding his way to a second Talaxu point in the future, maybe once the Blue Moon. And there's the reveal, and now the game is over, and they're like, oh dear. And they know it's over. Nothing you can do is in the table. It's just like, it's pretty sigh. Yeah, and that's it. And the table knows that it's all over. And, that's the way it goes. There's still a fight for second place, however, and that should be borne in mind here. Remember, it's the 5 top scoring second places out of all 13 games. So even if Green is surely looking they're going to win this, there's still a fight for trying to get as best second place as possible to try and find some way of qualifying through. But again, it looks really difficult to see how anyone's going to make a huge job of that. Like, Ilban is probably most likely to get anywhere near 10 points. Surely it's too late for red and green here. So the question is, how many points can Ilban score? Can definitely see at least 3 points for him here. Can they maybe fluke a 4th somehow? Get up to 9? Maybe there's some potential for some second place qualification there. But yeah, real shame for Ilban there. Set himself up pretty decently, but, not to be. Just couldn't get it ready fast enough. Helena just rips some intrigues here. I don't really know what you're looking for at this point. Plans within plans is a couple of points, actually. Should be noted. Keeps the blackmail, just in case. Need to protect it for economic supremacy, which is totally reasonable. Calculated Hire is doing nothing. Cannon turrets is it's not going to save the day. So that's about the best that Ilban can do here is hope he gets an intrigue or 2 from the Bene Gesserit and hope that he somehow scores a point. It's about the best he's got here. Romba's just got to put it in, obviously. Doesn't even need to retreat for the bumps. They'll just stay in. Kwisatz Haderach comes out. Yep, just goes secrets. Just intrigue hunting. Can he find anything? Snooper, no. Talaxu Puppet is a point, however. He does have the High Council seat, and Talaxi Master is going to finish off his research. So Ilban does find a point out of that at least, which isn't too bad. Could also have gone up to Spice Satellites. He would have paid 3 for the tech. He would have had 2 remaining, and then Spice Must Flow would have gotten back up to 3, and then he could have trashed Spice out its hard way for a point there. So there was a couple of ways he would to score. I think I would have preferred going Spice Satellites, just that guaranteed 9th point, but you know, it feels pretty bad whatever you do. Like, I guess the only chance you've got of even maybe finding a way to beat Beast, even if it's like a 1% chance, is to go Secrets. Talaxu Puppet, you're basically relying on finding Talaxu Puppet and the Spice one, and that you somehow score both. But yeah, I was just reading a look at this, just like 4 out of 7 conflicts had water in them. And 3 of them came up right after Beast got Saiyadina. And had won that conflict as well. So, pretty insane draw for Beast. And then me referring, yeah, economic supremacy. And there was nothing the table could do to stop Beast scoring 10 points here. Pretty useful run out. He played pretty decently as well. Made best situation. But definitely, I think, had some pretty good run in this one. Bindu played. Nothing really for Romba to do at this point. Buy Spice Must Flow, and just kind of shrug and say, wasn't my day. Beast just ran really well. I don't know. There was 2 chances where maybe this could be a different game, and that's why I mentioned Valen. That initial round 2, I think maybe should have gone Hardy Warriors instead of going for the shipping access. I think that might have been the right move for Romba. It's a difficult one to pull out, and I'm curious to know what they think watching this back, or even you guys think they're back. But at the time, I remember I was thinking, should they have gone Hardy Warriors and just stop Beast from being able to just dominate the Fremen and just use Hardy Warriors just to just jam conflicts, constantly get that water back because of wind traps. You know, it's a tough one, but I think maybe that might be an option. And then the Holtzman engine just ultimately too slow here. But I think at this point, I think they were already kind of hoping it was going to work itself out. Ilban reveals for a load of persuasion. It's enough for a Spice Must Flow. They've got like 11 or 12 or something. That's them trashing that with the up the top there. Bumping up. Going to use it to get hold of as much spice as possible. Get the Spice Must Flow. So Ilban's going to finish at 6. Talaxu 0.7. Spice Must Flow 8. Talaxu and the Talaxu point there for 9. So 9 points for Webben. It's not going to be enough to win the game, however, so he's going to have to hope that he somehow gets through as a 2nd place finisher. I got to be honest. Even at the time, I knew it wasn't too likely, and with the power of hindsight, I know that it wasn't enough. Unfortunately, this was Webben's last game in this competition, which is a shame. I think he played pretty good, actually, but Beast to his left just got to an absolute roll and just didn't really ever look back and just rocked and rolled. So, you know, sometimes that's how games go. There's not much you can do about it. You just kind of sigh and you're shrugging. You're like, well, it's just what it's got to be. And that's how it goes occasionally. So Jammy goes through to the next round, where he awaits a quarterfinal match with Squirrely, Raymond, and the winner of match A from the 2nd round, which is yet to be played. It is the end of the road for the rest of the table. Tough game for the table. And there was a end game chat here. I obviously don't have access really to any of it, but I kind of came into here. But yeah, Jammy just repeating that, you know, he was happy how he played, but he readily admitted he ran pretty good in this game, and I don't think there's any denying that either. So, thank you much for watching, everyone. That's going to be the end for this video. Hope you've enjoyed. Curious to know your feedback for this one. And we have got some pretty good 2nd round games coming up as well. So take care of yourselves, everyone. I'll see you on the next conflict.